What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Kyle Kelly live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel to discuss some Fighting Irish football recruiting. Really looking forward to today's show. We have so much to discuss in today's show. If you're watching live, you're watching back on YouTube, really appreciate you. Please hit the thumbs up on this video, subscribe to our Blue and Gold YouTube channel. Really appreciate you for making us a part of your day. If you're listening to this as a podcast, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening and leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy our Blue and Gold YouTube show. It's been a fun week. It's been good to get our grind going again with YouTube content. Felt like it's kind of been in and out for a few weeks, so just glad to be back with a normal week. Kyle, how are you? What's new?
Doing much better now that X, formerly known as Twitter, is fully operational again, because that was a little bit of a stressful 24 hours when post notifications weren't working. Just to clarify, that's I don't know how many X users we have in the comments, being that this is a YouTube show, but if you go to a user's profile and toggle on that notification button, anytime they tweet, you get the notification on your phone or in the app. And for guys like you and I in this industry, that is critical. And tweet notifications went down, I would say, about, this time on Thursday early afternoon. That's why I wasn't usually I'm on top of news right away. And I was a little bit behind on Jonas Wlton's commitment date announcement because I didn't see the tweet notification for it. And that's been the battle I've been fighting here for the last 24 hours. So long-winded answer, kind of an odd one, but yes, I am doing much better. And X being fully functional again is one reason why I'm in a good mood.
Meanwhile, I didn't notice and enjoyed my Thursday. Yeah, so let's dive into some Notre Dame football recruiting topics. I would say the biggest news item of the week, it really has been busy, is this one. Jonas Wlton, running back from Carrollton, Georgia. I've been to Carrollton 2 or 3 times. It's kind of like right on the border of Alabama and the Peach State. Big time football town. I think it's a town with 2 schools. It's Carrollton and it's Central. There might be 1 or 2 others, but I'm pretty much assuming that those are the 2 big ones. So it's like on Friday night in Carrollton, Georgia, there's no one out. Like you're at a football game. Like there's no one at the gas stations or the restaurants. You're probably at a football game. Like it's that kind of town. And Jonas Wlton, been able to talk to him a few times on the phone doing interviews, like a really thick, awesome Southern accent and quite the dog on the football field. Really nice kid. One of my favorite interviews of this class. Yeah, committing to a school May 14th. So that's in 5 days from now. So next Wednesday. Tennessee, Stanford, Notre Dame, Florida, and Bama. And on 3, Steve Wiltfong, a few days before this news broke, logged a prediction for Wlton to end up at Notre Dame, which I think is a pretty positive indicator if you're a Fighting Irish fan of hoping that Notre Dame will land Jonas Wlton, who ranks as the number 123 overall player, number 10 running back in the country. And as a player, Wlton's awesome. I'll pop on his film in a moment. Actually, we'll just go ahead and do that now. But with that top group, Kyle, Notre Dame had offered him his recruitment is very similar to Javian Osborne's, where Notre Dame offered both guys for Pot of Gold Day in March, and neither guy visited for the longest time. Osborne, it took a year for him to get to South Bend. Wlton, it took until that junior day in January, and the feeling was that Dylan McCullough, this was maybe Dylan's number 1 guy, really wanted Jonas Wlton, and then but just hadn't gotten up to campus. So you got to get him here and then we'll see. But I just always thought that it would be really difficult for a kid. I've been in that town 2 or 3 times. I just didn't see him leaving the South. And then you see that top group with Stanford and Notre Dame on it, and I knew Stanford was a top school. Like, man, maybe this kid does leave the South. So I think that this could be a tremendous get for Notre Dame. He visited Junior Day and made it back in the spring. So yeah, Notre Dame looks to have the momentum for this young man who was it just a Georgia State track meet or something that Bubba Frazier had the best 100-meter time, and who was number two? This what I say was 5'9", 200 pounds, a running back. Jonas Wlton, Javian Osborne. That would be a tremendous running back pairing if Notre Dame's able to pull this one off.
Yeah, a couple thoughts on this. How about first off, where Notre Dame's potentially landing these guys when you talk about a Javian Osborne and a Jonas Wlton? Osborne from Texas and
Yeah.
Wlton from Georgia, as you talked about. And anytime Notre Dame's getting football players from those two states, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. There's not much other states around the country that produce better high school football players than those two. And, in my coverage of recruiting, especially lately, when I've been at some of these news conferences with Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman, if you hear a recruiting related question, it's probably mine because I'm probably the only one that asks them in the news conferences. And ironically enough, they are pretty hard to ask just because with the rules and everything, Marcus Freeman, any other coaches for that matter, that can't talk about, recruits and mention them by name and those sorts of things. So it makes our jobs a little complicated in terms of getting like on the record, information. But, I've asked Marcus Freeman in the past about, some area recruiting, specifically in Southwest Ohio, where Marcus Freeman has a lot of ties growing up there in the Dayton area. And then most recently in North Carolina, where Notre Dame's gotten a lot of commits. And, Freeman basically gave me the same answer for both questions, even though they were about 6 months apart, that they don't really focus on area recruiting. It's more so Notre Dame is always going to recruit national and identify the top recruits across the country who identify well and are, quite frankly, Notre Dame kids. And Jonas Wlton is definitely fits that profile, even though he comes from Carrollton, Georgia, where you said it's on Friday nights, nobody's home, and they're all out on the in the stands on Friday nights. It's football town right there on the edge of in the deep South, Georgia, Alabama area. Usually, you wouldn't think those guys end up at Notre Dame, but for whatever reason, Dylan McCullough must have had a pretty good hunch because even before Notre Dame offered him about 14 months ago on Pot of Gold Day, McCullough was always stopping by his school, 3 or 4 different stops. So not a surprise to hear that, he was maybe one of McCullough's top backs in the class just based off how much attention he showed him. So, and to be honest, when McCullough left Notre Dame in February to go to the Las Vegas Raiders, I wasn't sure where Notre Dame was going to stand for Wlton because it seemed like that recruitment was so McCullough driven.
Right.
But it's a big testament to Ja'Juan Seider, what kind of how he came in here and kept Jonas engaged, got him back up to campus in the spring. That visit went exceptionally well. And then I don't think it's a major coincidence that we're talking about Notre Dame having the buzz after Ja'Juan Seider visited Wlton at his home, or maybe it was high school. Either way, he visited Wlton on Tuesday, I believe, down in Carrollton, Georgia. So a lot of good signs here for Notre Dame. One more thought I had is I love the comparison on the loose emoji message board of Nick Chubb, just because Chubb is an athletic specimen. I can say this as a diehard Browns fan, or was a diehard Browns fan. I'm certainly not that way anymore, but a lot of resemblances between their two games. I think Nick Chubb actually is from Georgia as well. And this Notre Dame running back class kind of reminds me a little bit of, I don't expect Notre Dame fans to know about this, but Georgia's running back class in 2014 when they had 5 stars, Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. Both those guys ended up being pretty high NFL draft picks or big-time contributors. to some of those great Georgia teams back in the day. I don't think Wlton and Osborne are both going to be 5 stars when the cycle ends, or when the ranking cycle ends in about
Sure.
a year. But both those guys highly rated, complement each other really well. They're similar style backs. So if Notre Dame does land, Wlton, as the predictions and indicators have said, that'd be a pretty big pickup for Notre Dame.
Yeah. Good stuff, Kyle. Comment from Timothy says, I thought they were recruiting Bonner. They are really going to offer 3 running backs in one class. Timothy, I don't. Maybe it's just like a poorly worded question, or maybe you're new to following recruiting. I don't know, so I'm not going to try to give a smart ass answer here. But they offer, how many running backs have they offered? I mean, dude, Tennessee has probably offered like 30 running backs in the class. Like Notre Dame has offered 12. So you offer 12. That doesn't mean you take 12. So they've offered many more than 3. And I mean, could they take 3? I guess, but I don't think so. Well, we'll see what happens. I don't think that. I don't know. My opinion would be that it would just be those two. If Notre Dame is able to land a class of Javian Osborne and Jonas Wlton, that'd be insane. But if you're able to end up with 3 and take Brian Bonner, that would be awesome. Joe Burrow says we could lose 3 after this year, but you're not really replacing 3 for 3 in 2026. It's not like you're asking 3 true freshman running back to play. So, you could be losing 3, but Notre Dame has 6 scholarship running backs. That's a lot right now. So I would anticipate you lose 3, who knows, maybe 4. But then at that point, you're not looking to replenish losing 3 or 4 with 3 or 4 high school backs. That's not really how it works. You would want to replace it more with upperclassmen. So if Notre Dame needed to go to the portal, then they could go to the portal. But that's kind of my take. Yeah, unless you're SC, then you take 5 running backs. SCs just always kind of live in their own world. I remember back in the day, they just would take classes with like no offensive linemen. It's like, what are you doing? Let's talk about Roback. If you want to look good, go out golfing, whatever. I get the most compliments, and I'm not a golfer, but I imagine if you did, you would look good and feel good wearing your Roback. Kyle, you wearing your Roback golfing? Feel good?
Have not been out there yet this year, but I'm hoping to change that pretty soon. And when I do,
Got to.
I'll be rocking that Roback polo. There's nothing more comfortable, and especially for active wear. It,
Yes.
it is a polo. It's got a collar, but believe me, you can run, you can swing, you can do pretty much
Yeah,
anything else you want in that Roback
and
polo.
it's so comfortable, like just wearing it around the house. Like it's really quite the versatile polo, and it's gonna last you a long time. Quality's incredible. Um, Look, you got like a lot of you people have been listening to me for a long time, and sometimes ad reads are just kind of right to the point. Just gonna read the ad. For the ones that I'm most passionate about, that I really do trust and believe in, I kind of will spitball and just and wing it. And I mean, it may not wing it's the right word, but go off the cuff and speak from the heart. And Roback is one of those. I'm looking at my closet right now, and I see like 4 or 5 Roback pieces just off first glance. I wear my Roback all the time. I got it on 3 polo on right now, but I'm rocking Roback 2 or 3 times a week. So check it out. And if you're a new customer, use the code BlueGold20 on Roback.com. That's for all new customers. RHOBACK.com. 20% off all performance polos. They got shorts and more. And I know you guys are using that code because I get reports here and there. And Roback's happy with these Notre Dame purchases with that code. So I'm really happy you guys are snagging your Roback. So definitely check it out, Roback.com. So I would definitely say that Jonas Wlton was a big item from this week. And then there's some really interesting new offers that have came about this week, and I did not prepare them, did not pull up their profiles. But I will do that now, Kyle. And this name is pretty interesting, huh? Devin Fitzgerald. Why don't you tell us about Devin Fitzgerald since you got to talk to him yesterday? Notre Dame offered him yesterday.
Yeah, as you can see on the screen, he comes from Notre Dame friendly school down there in Phoenix, Brophy College Prep, same school that produced Benjamin Morrison and Creed Thomas. Notre Dame has been tracking him for quite a long time. It's my understanding that when the Notre Dame coaching staff was out there in Phoenix checking up on Creed Thomas throughout his recruitment over the last year or so, they were also keeping an eye on Devin Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald came to campus last June to work out with Mike Brown. Also visited for a game in it was a Florida State game, and then back to campus in January for Junior Day. So he's been to South Bend a bunch. His interest in Notre Dame is pretty obvious. I've talked to Devin on a couple different occasions now, and has always talked to me about how much he values academics and education. So uh, to no surprise, Notre Dame, a very appealing option for him. And he had long coveted this Notre Dame offer. He pretty much told me on the phone yesterday that, he's like, me, I've been trying to get this one for a while. So uh, my understanding also, this is what Devin told me, is that this was really a staff decision. Mike Brown, talked with uh, other members of the Notre Dame coaching staff, and they all decided that collectively that Devin Fitzgerald is someone they should offer. And you don't make an offer like this, at least my opinion, without the intentions of pursuing him heavily. I don't think this is just going to be an offer that they give and all of a sudden cool on Devin Fitzgerald and maybe prioritize other guys. I think, in my opinion, like I said, this is a very committable offer. And other schools have offered Fitzgerald a little bit earlier than Notre Dame, but they've recruited him, Notre Dame, that is, just about longer than anyone. So I expect him to get up to campus in June. And quite frankly, if all goes well, it would be a surprise to me if he didn't end up in Notre Dame's class.
Yeah. So it's Michigan, North Carolina. There's a couple other. Was it Auburn? I can't remember.
UCLA is a big
UCLA.
contender here.
Yeah, good school. So yeah, Michigan, UCLA, Notre Dame. Was North Carolina one of them? Am I
Yes.
remember that correctly?
Yeah, he went to see North Carolina in the spring after Bill Belichick got hired.
And this is, of course, I don't know if we mentioned yet, the son of Larry Fitzgerald, which is probably one of my favorite receivers to watch growing up. It's pretty freaking cool, dude. Like, for me as a millennial, like, I'm 31, growing up watching, Brian Urlacher and Jerome Bettis and Larry Fitzgerald, like, just a few names off the top of my head, and now I get to interview their sons, like, and I interviewed Brian Urlacher, I interviewed the bus, like, I've gotten to interview and some really cool people, and there's others, obviously, but it's pretty sick. So yeah, I agree with you, Kyle. This is not something where it's like, oh, Notre Dame's offering late, and they got to start building a relationship with the kid now. No, that's not what happened here. It's just an offer that came a little bit later, and they stayed in communication. So it's not like he's got to get to know Notre Dame. He knows the place. He knows the staff. He's just fired up to get this offer, and he definitely earned it. You mentioned the whole staff offer, but I mean, Mike Brown went to see him, and then that offer came that day. So that's definitely at least that's what I remember from this week. Might be getting him mixed up with Cohen Brown, who we're going to talk about in a second. But yeah, Mike Brown went to see him, and then the offer came. Or did he see him that day, Kyle?
So there was a 8-day window.
8-day window. Okay, I'm thinking
So
Cohen Brown. We'll talk about it in a
yes.
minute. But still, Mike Brown went and saw them, and then work out, and then the offer comes. Yeah, very friendly school to Notre Dame. Cree Thomas, Ben Morrison came from Brophy Prep, high academic school in Arizona. So, yeah, I like Notre Dame. See that official visit get set up, and I think that the Irish have as good of a chance as anybody in this recruitment. Really solid looking prospect, and Notre Dame definitely needs a bigger body guy. You got a couple sub 6 foot guys. Maybe they could get a third one with Braden Robinson. And Caden Finley's no lock to Notre Dame. So I think it'll end up being a 5-man receiver class, at least based on where things stand right now. So that would be a solid get. Mentioned him, Cohen Brown. I'm not going to try to pronounce this town in high school in Texas, but he decommitted from USC earlier on Friday, and he committed to the Trojans on April 2nd, I want to say it was. And so gets Notre Dame offer the other day, and Mike Brown went to see him. I'm actually going to have an intel piece on Cohen Brown later on Friday to run down this entire recruitment, how this came together for the Fighting Irish. So you can check that out. But decommits from USC shortly after Notre Dame offers. He was at Javian Osborne's commitment ceremony, and I think Notre Dame's got a really good chance here. Coming off of that, or him backing off his Trojans pledge. So an interesting one. Highly productive guy in the Lone Star State, which is a very crucial state for Notre Dame, of course, and specifically the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I know his town's a little bit south of Dallas, but I can loop it in with the DFW for the sake of this conversation. Waxahachie, is that what it is? So there you go.
Sounds good to me. Let's play the Miranda Lambert song to figure it out.
So, just reading the chat, I thought Finley was trending heavy to Notre Dame. I don't. Where would you think? Like, why would you think that's trending heavy? I mean,
because of you, you
and
Wlton.
Yeah, we have predictions in, but we have predictions in for Tiki Hola to go to Notre Dame. I don't know if we'll talk about Tiki. Like, just because someone's predicted somewhere doesn't mean they're going there. And when did I do that Finley pick? January? Well, 4 months ago.
Wlton did one sooner, and
Wlton did one after,
or late, or more recently, not sooner.
But like, yeah, crystal balls are crystal balls. But like, what's the actual reporting? No one, like me and Wlton aren't out here saying I think he's trending heavily to Notre Dame. Like, it's nothing.
Hey, for what it's worth, I have read this in Steve's writing lately that I don't know if he's phrased it specifically, but some of Steve's reporting is that Caden is trending toward Notre Dame in some of the Wlton whip rounds. So
of course yes, we're going to say that if we put in a pick, Kyle. But trending heavily and trending is trending heavily is like this kid's about to commit or he's already committed, and we're just not trying to say that. Like that's a whole different thing than just trending. Yeah, of course I think he's trending to Notre Dame. I like Notre Dame more than I do Texas for Finley, but it's not a lock. It's not a lock. Is Notre Dame still pursuing Derek Meadows, or have they moved on? I think Notre Dame's moved on. I think Derek has as well. So there you go. So yeah, Cohen Brown. Kyle, do you have anything you wanted to add before we move
on? Two things. If you remember what I said on this YouTube show last week, and then again on Javian Osborne's commitment video, that Osborne's commitment was going to pay both on-field and off-field dividends, and especially with the off the field, with Osborne being connected to a lot of recruits. I mentioned a couple in some reporting. To be honest, Cohen Brown was not on my radar, but this is one that I know Osborne's working on specifically to get up to Notre Dame. And I know you're working on the intel piece later, Mike, so I just want to summarize kind of my vibe on this recruitment. Please tell me if I'm right or wrong, but just kind of sounds like that USC wanted Cohen Brown to shut down his recruitment, but USC didn't want to stop recruiting other wide receivers. So I think that's why he felt the need to reopen things up. So not sure if you're hearing anything different, but I think that was pretty easily summarized.
Folks can check it out in the intel piece that I'll write later today. Brown, the number 462 overall player, number 73 wide receiver. 24/7's rankings really dragging this one down. I think the kid's awesome. I don't see a 3-star, but what do I know? 6 foot, 180 pounds. And then a prospect we probably don't know a ton about at this point is Donovan Webb, Panther Creek, Frisco, Texas. Another Dallas-Fort Worth guy. Notre Dame has just been in this area like crazy, and for good reason. pound for pound, like top city for college or high school football, like Dallas Fort Worth. I guess you got to call it an area, but Dallas Fort Worth is, I mean, it's up there with. I'd put it next to any in the country. 4-star safety, number 322 overall player, number 33 safety. Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, LSU. I'm working on getting an interview with him, Kyle, and kind of seeing what Donovan Webb is thinking, because don't have a great feel on it right now. I'm just trying to get more familiar with him. Let's move to, so we talk about Jonaz Wlton's commitment date. Let's come back to a couple other prospects who are announcing commitments soon. And we'll go to Tiki Hola first. Saturday, May 10th, 11:30 a.m. Central, 12:30 Eastern. Tiki Hola from Bastrop, Texas. That's the Austin area. Nation's number 449 overall player, number 48 defensive lineman. Top 3 of Notre Dame, USC, and SMU. But for the sake of this discussion, we really think it's between Notre Dame and SMU. I do have a prediction in for him to land Notre Dame. I logged that pick on April 7th, so about a month ago. And I felt pretty good about it until about maybe Monday, coming off of back-to-back SMU visits. And I was like, all right, well, Notre Dame's got, a home visit with him Thursday night, and, maybe they can swing things kind of back in their favor. But I don't know. This one just kind of is giving me weird vibes. I don't know. I truly don't know what he is going to do tomorrow afternoon. So we will see. If you maybe pick right now, I would probably say SMU, but I truly don't know. It's been no two recruitments are the same. This one's been a unique one, Kyle.
Sure has. I heard some confidence around the Notre Dame staff earlier this week about their standing with Tiki Hola. I do like that, even though he was coming off that SMU official visit last weekend, and I think SMU might have went in home or stopped by school on Wednesday. I like the fact that Notre Dame had the final in-home visit on Thursday, because during the contact period, I'm pretty sure the coaches they can't visit recruits twice in the same week. So once SMU burnt their stop to see Hola on Wednesday, they would have to wait until Monday again to see him. So I like the fact that Notre Dame probably has the final say with Al Washington, Nick Sebastian, Notre Dame's defensive line coaching tandem, spending some time with him Thursday. And, although we don't have a great feel on, what the outcome is going to be here, I will leave you with this, that, Tiki Hola has said on multiple occasions to me and others that he's going to pray about it and let God guide his decision. And anytime we've heard that from a recruit, usually winds up in Notre Dame's favor. So I don't know. You can do with that what you want, but that's just been the success Notre Dame's had when recruits make those comments. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I think 12:30 Eastern is when he's going to come off the board. We'll be prepared as if he's committing to Notre Dame, and we'll have our stuff ready to rock and roll as we do for most of these guys, to make sure that we're not blindsided by anything. But definitely here on Friday afternoon, haven't heard one way or the other.
The other one that is new is Jordan Thomas from Bergen Catholic in New Jersey. Yeah, he's committing, was that Monday? May 12th. I don't see this being Notre Dame. Notre Dame would love it if it's them, but I don't see it. He visited once in 2022 and then again in March, but I mean, I would guess Ohio State, Kyle.
That's the sense I have. Just briefly, when I watched Jordan Thomas back in the fall, he's wearing Ohio State gloves, and his family I know likes the Buckeyes, and they visit them in like twice within the matter of 2 or 3 weeks this spring. So you want to put all that together. Sounds like Ohio State to me, but
Yeah, no, I
not
think
too
so.
sure.
I think Notre Dame is like 3 or 4 in Jordan Thomas's recruitment, which would be okay if it's like a October decision or something. But with it being in a few days away, I don't like where the Irish stand there. Let's move on to Thomas Davis Jr., Notre Dame's linebacker commit in the 2026 class, picking up an offer from Georgia, which is, I mean, if you're committed to Notre Dame or really any other school for that matter, and then Georgia offers you, it's a notable offer. But then you take into account that he's a Charlotte kid, and Athens is, I don't know, like 3 hours from there. That makes it more notable. And then you add in to the equation that his dad, Thomas Davis Sr., starred for the Georgia Bulldogs before playing in the NFL with the Carolina Panthers for a decade or so. But Thomas Davis Jr. told me in a message that he did not think he would be, like he had just gotten the offer. Like when I was doing my show with Tim the other night. And, so I get off the show and I think like Thomas hadn't even posted on Twitter yet. Like it was just on Instagram. So I texted him and said, hey, like, do you think you're going to visit Georgia? I said, congrats on the offer. He said, thanks. Like, you think you're going to visit Georgia? And he's like, I don't think so. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen here. I think he's locked in with the Irish. And I know Matt Freeman at Irish Sports Daily had a quote from TJ that Matt put on Twitter that said, like, Thomas Davis Jr. said he's locked in with Notre Dame, which is not surprising. He's been a leader of the class, and he's a really smart kid. And I'm sure this family's had the discussion about, like, well, what if Georgia offers when it was time to commit last fall? And I'm sure they had that discussion, and to no one's surprise, Georgia does offer this talented 4-star linebacker. And, I think they're going to stick with that original decision and go to Notre Dame.
I agree. I know there was some excitement between his father and his mother about the Georgia offer just because of what that university means to the family. But even before Thomas Davis Jr. committed to Notre Dame in November, I talked to his coach back in July, so almost a year ago now, about that recruitment. And something that his coach told me is that TJ's always wanted to kind of pave his own path. He's obviously grateful for where he comes from, who his father is, but it's to the extent where Thomas Davis Jr. he goes by TJ because he doesn't want to everyone to know that he's Thomas Davis. So I think Notre Dame put itself in a good position far enough and early enough ahead in this recruitment that they're going to be able to combat these a little bit of conflict, I guess, that's heading their way with Georgia trying to change things up. But I will say, like, even though it does add a little bit of challenge to his recruitment, I'm happy to see that Georgia offer. To be honest,
Yeah.
like that's a pretty good indication of how other schools feel about him. That a team like Georgia, like, look at all the linebackers they've sent to the NFL draft. If they think Thomas Davis Jr. is still good enough to pursue, even though he's committed to Notre Dame, that's a pretty good indicator for me about the type of guy he's going to be in college. Because I know people have said, like, they maybe don't think Thomas Davis Jr. is like fast enough, and it could he that speed sort of translate to the college level and things like that. And I think like On3 has him rated as a 3-star, but it seems like when you talk to people in North Carolina and now looking at Georgia offering, seems like he's one of the better linebackers in this class.
I hear what you're saying. I like what you're saying. It's good. But I see Notre Dame fans on Twitter all the time. They'll talk crap about a kid based on his offer list. Like Notre Dame offers go, oh man, well, I think it was just like with like Larry Fitzgerald. There was some idiot on Twitter that I see in my mentions talk about, oh, why is Notre Dame offering this kid? Like, one, He's got freaking Michigan. Like he's like Evan Fitzgerald has big time offers. Like, for what, you're an idiot. But two, you just mentioned like Georgia offers him, and that's like a good indication of that he's well. What about Notre Dame? Like Notre Dame, that's this like Notre Dame and linebackers recently. Like we need to have discussions about Notre Dame and how good their recent history of linebackers is, going back to like Tranquil and the Jeremiah Usu-Koramoah, like the past several years. Like Notre Dame's been churning out linebackers like no one's business, and then going to like Bertrand and Kaiser and Marist, like, and the linebackers they have now. Kingston's a freak. Madden's gonna be a freak. Drake, you know, Snead, I could see playing in the NFL, and Jaden Osbury's got a ton of talent. Like Notre Dame fans, we first, there's a problem with saying stupid shit on social media. Like the kid is like, you have Notre Dame fan all over your Twitter. Notre Dame, like your favorite team offers this kid. You're responding to a tweet. I know I'm probably preaching to the choir. You're responding to a tweet where the kid's mentioned, talking shit about the kid. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, are you brain dead? Anyways, I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead. But it's just like there's dumb people out there. Kind of just went off on a tangent. Kyle, I'm usually good for one of those for Notre Dame recruiting update.
Good call on the Notre Dame linebacker recruiting, though.
Yeah, it's like, man, like Notre Dame. Like now is Notre Dame not a big time offer? Like, oh, this kid doesn't have good offers. Like Notre Dame. What about Notre Dame? They offered him. Notre Dame doesn't count? It's only if Notre Dame doesn't offer. It's like our coaching staff, they just got Notre Dame to the national championship game, and just beat Georgia and Penn State in major bowl games. Something we haven't seen happen in 30 plus years. But Notre Dame's offers don't count. It's like the staff doesn't know what they're doing. Like, I don't know, bro. But yeah, anyways, Thomas Davis Jr. think that Notre Dame will keep him. Kyle, you got to see a ton of the top, every top Chicago kid in the 20, was it just 27s?
No, it's 26 and 27. Most of the top guys
Blade
were
was there.
But yeah, it was it was a heck of an event.
Yeah, tell us about this. So this is Tom Lemming. If you're younger, you may not know Tom, but he's an absolute legend in the Notre Dame, Notre Dame, but also just really recruiting media. Like he's one of the founders of like recruiting coverage with like the call-in numbers to get your your latest information and stuff back in the day. Probably when I was in like elementary school, he was doing that stuff. Kyle probably was even born, but so he travels all the time around the country and does photo shoot for his magazine, and he has blurbs about every top prospect around the country in his magazine. We use it all the time. It's called the Bible of college football recruiting, and I certainly use it like it is, just to get information and grab some quotes from Tom about various prospects. So you were there. You get to talk to Mikhail Blade and all those top 27 guys, Braden Parks, Bone Crusher. I know Jake Hart's happy I mentioned the Bone Crusher. Or was Bone Crusher there?
Sure was.
Caleb Tucker. So yeah, tell us about that event, Kyle.
Yeah, so you did a pretty good job of summarizing it, but basically all the top recruits in the Chicago area, rising seniors, juniors, and sophomores, so 2026, 27, and 28 guys, all joined Tom at St. Ignatius High School there in Chicago for his photo shoot and, for Tom's coverage of each players. Thankfully, Lemming was gracious enough to have me there, allowed to talk to some of the recruits and take some photos of them for On 3. And, I'll encourage all of the YouTube listeners to go to, blueandgold.com to check out the intel of all the Notre Dame recruits there. I counted, I think I said there were 8 guys, 7 Notre Dame recruiting targets. Certainly there were guys with Notre Dame offers there, but more so 7 guys that I kind of still feel like they're targeting at this point. Just running through the names, that would be Chicago Simeon, defensive lineman Mikhail Blade. He's a 2026 guy. In 2027, Chicago Brother Rice, defensive lineman Braden Parks. Chicago Mount Carmel has a lot of top guys. 2026 offensive tackle Claude Puma, 2027 defensive back Tavares Harrington, 2027 wide receiver Quentin Burrell, and 2028 defensive lineman Caleb Tucker, who does indeed go by Bone Crusher. And trying to think, Brock Williams, who is a elite tight end, 27 class guy out of Libertyville, which is in the northwest suburbs, I believe. And then Cameron Wagner, a 4-star offensive tackle out of St. Joseph Ogden and St. Joseph, Illinois. Notre Dame was in to see him last week. So those are the Notre Dame recruits that I saw there. And to give some perspective, I also attended this event last year, and they had 3 Notre Dame commits show up between Tom Hulock, Joe Reef, and Christopher Burgess, 3 D-line commits.
Or Hulock?
Hulock.
Long-time listeners.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Anyway, I think that pronunciation was actually confirmed after seeing Tom about a year ago at that event. But I don't know if it was because of the Notre Dame guys being there, or that this time last year, Mikhail Blade and Braden Jones, who's from Chicago, Mount Carmel, we thought pretty strongly that they would end up at Notre Dame. Felt like there was a lot more Notre Dame buzz at last year's event compared to this year's. Now,
what
with
about
that
Braden Parks, though?
You got to check out the gold standard for the intel there, but that one's not a Notre Dame lock like some think, even though his cousin Tony Jones, the running back, went to Notre Dame, Tony Jones Jr., and that his godfather is Chris Zorich. I think Braden's keeping things pretty open. So there again, also Mikhail Blade at this time last year we thought was going to Notre Dame. And it took some additional reporting out of me to really get a good grip on Mikhail Blade's recruitment. I went back to his school on Monday morning at like 6 a.m. or something to spend more time with him and his coach, and talked with some sources there. People connected all around that recruitment, and I wasn't really sure where Notre Dame stands. I'm still not really sure, but I think that Notre Dame's going to get it done there. As long as everything comes together this summer, I think Mikhail Blade ends up in Notre Dame's class.
Especially if Tiki doesn't go to Notre Dame like we've been projecting. Because I'm thinking about Notre Dame's D-line class, and I just did an article on it the other day, projecting what would happen. And halfway through the article, I was like, shit, man, I don't know if I should be writing this article. It's so much up in the air. I was like, I already started on it, so I might as well finish. I put Tiki in there, and now it's like, that I think that could open the door more for Blade, because the thing with Mikhail Blade, Kyle, is it's what more do you need to see? You've been here so many times. Do you think you're going to learn something new during your OV? Now you're staying at the hotel, and the cookie cake's going to win you over. That recruits get in their hotel room, or I don't know. He's been around everything. He's been around everyone.
It's more so him wanting to see other schools, which you can take that
he just was
any
at
way
Michigan.
you want. But
Michigan,
I mean,
is that the biggest contender?
I think he saw 9 schools in the spring, or 9 schools since March. So he should have a pretty good idea. I think he just wants to go through the process. Notre Dame's being respectful of that as well. Encourage him to go see all the other schools, because I think Notre Dame's kind of felt like they've done enough at this point. So
yeah. So I guess my point is, Tiki, now you just still have 2. You have 2 commits, and they're both true D ends, and Dunham and Ebenezer Uatade. So it's like Blade is a tweener, or multiple versatile, whatever you want to call them. So they still have another interior spot, or there's definitely. There would have been a spot for Blade even if Tiki committed, but now there's 3 spots left. They're going to take 5 D linemen. Could they take 6? Sure. They could, it could also rain picks. I don't know what's going to happen in the world, But the plan is to take 5, and I feel like it's more likely Blade ends up in the class if there's 3 open spots than 2.
That's fair. That's
You
fair.
know, it's I don't know how much of a percentage jump it is, but you know,
It's fluid, man.
it's very
board is
fluid. The
very
D-line board,
fluid.
like pretty
We
much
don't know.
anyone
We
they can
don't.
end up with.
Tiki Hola's Hola is committing tomorrow. We don't have a good indication of where that
I
one's
really
going yet.
don't.
And
I don't.
Mikhail Blade, we felt Notre Dame for a while. He wants to go through his OVs, and they got a lot of other guys on the board. They really like this Alistair Viejo guy from
Yep.
Liberty Hill. Noah Clark is someone they like from North Carolina. He's a specimen. Notre Dame doesn't have any guys like that on their current roster. I'm trying to think.
Yep.
I know they like Kari Wilder out in
I
SoCal.
think, I could see Notre Dame landing Kari Wilder. I could see him landing Blade. I could see me going 0 for 3 on, those 3 that I predicted to Notre Dame. Elijah Golden, obviously, as well, from originally from Virginia, now in the Southwest Florida area. So to wrap it up, the class is in good shape, man. This is, man. I mean, look, you Notre Dame would love to have Tiki Hola. If he goes to SMU, it stings because Notre Dame really, really wants him, but it's not the end of the world. They still have big-time defensive linemen on the board, and this is the thing where, like, Notre Dame offers new defensive line prospects, and you're like, they must not feel good about the guys that they're recruiting, because why would you offer new guys? Not always the answer. It's usually not the answer, actually. It is for this specific scenario. You lose out on, let's say Tiki goes to SMU tomorrow, and then let's say you don't get Mikhail Blade. You would be pissed if Notre Dame then goes, well, I guess we're going to start offering new defensive linemen in June after all these recruits have taken their OVs. You'd be pissed. But what did Notre Dame do? They already offered those guys. They already offered everyone. So it's like with the receivers, I'm getting questions. Is Notre Dame offering Cohen Brown and Devin Fitzgerald a byproduct of them not feeling good about Braden Robinson and Caden Finley? It could be, but it also is more likely just because, A, maybe they want to take 5 receivers, so they want to expand that board, or B, if they don't land either of those guys, Robinson looking like Miami versus Notre Dame, Finley, Notre Dame versus Texas, if they don't land 1 or 2, you want to be able to have other players that you're already recruiting. You don't got to start over on. So don't always think Notre Dame offered this guy, that must mean they're not going to get this player. It's not how it works. It could be, it's possible, but if Notre Dame, let's say, didn't offer Alistair or didn't offer Tavian Branch or some of these guys, and today they started offering them, now that would be a sign. It's like, they clearly just got bad news about Tiki the day before his commitment, and then like that would be something, but not now. It like when they offered these guys 3-4 weeks ago, they weren't getting bad news about Tiki. Kyle said earlier in the show that he was talking to a Notre Dame source earlier this week, and there was a lot of optimism around the program about Tiki. So don't get caught up in that mindset that A plus B equals C. And recruiting, it's A plus B to the square root of G divided by Z equals, Q. That's football recruiting. It's very complicated. Okay, so it's not as much as we like think it's a black and white thing. It's not. So that's why you lock into the Blue and Gold YouTube channel, because we're going to try to make sense of it all. And hit the thumbs up if you have not done so yet. We are going to log off for now. We'll be live next for this very show. Sorry about the delay of an hour. I was out and about. So appreciate the patience. Great show today. Great viewership. We'll be live back in that normal window of 1 p.m. Eastern time. Just double checking. Yes, on May 16th. I will be seeing some recruits the day before. A couple Notre Dame commits in Orlando. Going to be making it down there to see Aiden Pouncey and Noah Grubbs, Irish quarterback commit. And I'm sure Kyle's going to be seeing some prospects this month. So we'll definitely have some reporting on that, as well as what's going on, new commitments, new targets, new old targets going elsewhere. We'll definitely have it all for you. And this show, as well as with Tim Hyde, we'll be talking about some recruiting as well. Again, folks, really appreciate you for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up if you have not done so yet. And as always, we will catch you next time.